I publicly launched on September, and then we started doing the testings, the $1. And those were doing well, and we kept on doing them, but we took our time. And then, what was really interesting as well is when we were doing the testing, we were getting a lot of feedback. And also, we were doing sometimes getting even better results with the renderings that were basic than the fully completed ones, because people were commenting like, "Oh, what's that? Oh, that looks like this."
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Masters of Crowdfunding podcast. Today we have Gamal Jadue Zalaquett. He is the creator of Kosmos Resorts, which raised over $2 million. It's the most funded reward-based real estate crowdfunding campaign with over 1,600 customers and backers. Welcome to the podcast, Gamal.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. I mean, we broke many records together. So tell the audience a little bit about what Kosmos Resort is.
Absolutely. Cosmos is leading the way in astrotourism, and it is starting with a property located in the San Luis Valley of Colorado. It's 15 minutes away from the Great Sand Dunes National Park, which is a dark sky park and preserve, and it has Boreal Class 2 area skies. Basically, very little light pollution.
Nice.
So this beautiful property of 40 acres encompasses 20 luxury stargazing villas. It encompasses a stargazing center, and that's really where the cool thing things get really exciting. And as well as other areas like a spa and amenities that you'd see in a typical 5-star luxury resort, your restaurant, things that you need to have in order to be a 5-star resort. So that's what Cosmos is. It's an astro-tourism experience.
That's incredible. I mean, it makes me want to stay there already. So it makes sense why you guys broke every record out there. So what is astrotourism? I mean, I can make out what it means, but can you just elaborate a little bit more on what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a great question. Like you see headlines even from National Geographic, right? Like astrotourism is 2024 is the year for astrotourism, and basically you see people traveling more and more to enjoy the night sky. There's actually another word for it. I believe it's called nocturism, and basically it's nocturnal tourism where people are going to go and enjoy the night sky. And that's what people are coming here for. That's what people are willing to travel to. Places such as the Northern Lights in Iceland. Iceland, where you can see the Northern Lights very clearly, right? Recently, we were able to see the Northern Lights here in the United States as well, right? And so the main part is really dark skies, I think.
Yeah, it's funny, like I occasionally listen to Joe Rogan, right? Very occasionally. And once in a while, he talks about, man, like people in cities are so disconnected from nature, right? And we're all kind of crazy, like, because we don't get to realize how small we are by looking up into the skies and realizing we're just a speck of dust in the universe. And I think, there's a lot of like nature resorts and the connection to nature has been more and more emphasized, but I think people don't make the connection as much between like astrotourism and, staying in a forest as an example, right? Versus astrotourism, it's gotten so much bigger in the last decade. I mean, like my wife and I recently traveled to the Big Island to go to one of the, I forget the name, but one of the higher peaks to see the night sky and observe the stars, et cetera. But, it's like, it's very out of the way. um, even if you're on
Exactly.
the Big Island to go there, because it's very remote and very high up.
And you're exactly right. And so that makes it a high barrier entry for corporates like Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt to go in there, because they don't have a proven model. And I don't know if you've seen every Fairfield Inn, but every Fairfield Inn is the same. Every JW Marriott is the same, and so that's why I thought we had a lot of success in the crowdfunding, is because you could only have done this from a private, from a private venture, from an innovative eyes, and that's why astrotourism is surging primarily in what I've seen to be a smaller scale resorts.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It allows you to be more. I mean, it requires more developments, right? Different types of permitting, understanding of land. So actually, that takes me to my next question here. So you were in land consulting before you got into this. And for people listening that don't know what land consulting is, basically like, why don't you explain what land consulting is actually?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So land is different wherever you buy it, and a lot of people are wonder how to buy land. And basically, I ended up accumulating over 1,700 acres in the San Luis Valley and selling those to help me fund the beginning parts of Cosmos, And my family also comes from selling land in Florida. And so when it comes to buying land, everybody has different questions, and a lot of people that don't know, you need to really guide them. When you're buying land in a city, you can tie into sewer, right? You can tie into the electrical grid. It makes it a lot easier for you to just come in and build a house. But when you're buying land in the middle of nowhere and there's no electrical grid or there's no sewer, like you were saying, and that's why it is more difficult for Mary to come here, is because you have to go a little bit more off grid. You have to go into these developments that are developing remotely is more expensive. I mean, just think about it. Getting a concrete truck from Denver to Colorado Springs or something, but getting it all the way down to, and that's just a broad example, right? But this requires this kind of development requires a lot more looking into, and that's just Cosmos. So when it comes to residential and people are buying their houses, that became also that's kind of where like we started and my family started in real estate. And so we sold land here in the west coast of Florida, and now we're focused on selling land in Colorado next to our project in Cosmos. And I explain people how I've came to build Cosmos, and when you're buying land in places that are more urban, rather than rural, like I said, rural is easy. You already have utilities. You already have, a lot of vendors and contractors that you can choose who to build with. When you're going suburban, you're more limited. And so you definitely want to make sure that you understand the local county rules and you understand what is the process to getting a driveway, what an easement is. A lot of people don't even know what an easement is, and so, we came to a point where we were selling land and people were asking us all these questions. We're like, all right, well, we're not just selling land at this point. We're offering free consulting, so,
Right.
yeah, we developed into a firm that sells land. Well, we develop Own a Piece of Colorado, and you can go own-a-piece-of-colorado.com that sells land. And right now we got about 1,700 acres, which we've split into 35-acre ranches. And we even tell people how to do crowdfunding, and we've been trying to tell people like, hey, you can do your own Airbnb and do your own crowdfunding. Like we're happy to help you. We only got 20 villas, and then I'm interested, like I told you, in going to other states and making more Cosmos, so that is part of the business plan. And
So why did you choose to use crowdfunding launch Cosmos? Come on.
because it was a win-win for everybody. And honestly, and really, more than anything, I wasn't thinking of breaking so many records. At first, I'm thinking of, all right, this is going to help me get investors. That's really what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm going to prove the concept, and I'm actually going to show investors there's demand before I go asking for investments. I didn't going to spend all of my money. And I think I did a lot of certain things right in a way small things that in composite allowed us this exponential result, And the reason why I did it is because of that. Why not have an exponential result where the entrepreneur myself is winning, where the clients are winning, where the world is winning? Because at the end of the day, our vision is a greener, sustainable ecotourism, building more sustainably, teaching people how to do that. And so, and getting everybody also involved in part of the journey of this, letting them be part of, hey, I like that idea, or I don't like that idea, and letting them know that they're being heard, It's a great way to form a company. So something that I learned from Lunchroom, actually, that I couldn't have learned otherwise, was forming a community and the strength that comes with that, Like, people look at the success of my crowdfunding as being $2 million. What I look at the success of my crowdfunding is the 50,000 email addresses that I have subscribed, And, yep, exactly. You can ask any questions off of that, Kevin.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so you talked about like win for you as like being able to get those funds up front before the property is fully developed and being able to show that traction to investors, right?
And also pre-marketing.
Yeah. And being able to market before it's all developed, which, I mean, it could be a year or 2 years before, from when we actually started marketing, right? Which was actually, we were just talking about that before the recording. Right now we are, recording in October of 2024, but you and I met May of 2023, right? So we'll talk about sort of what happened in that time gap. But yeah, you're able to leverage all that time to do pre-marketing for a property as you're doing the financing, as you're doing development, as you're doing, working with the banks, et cetera, and getting permits and all of that. And then, so that's a win for, the company and for yourself and talking to the customers, et cetera. It's a win for the community because they get to be a part of the process, like you mentioned, and they get such a steep discount for being a part of it early, right? Because something like this could cost a lot. I mean, it costs a lot to build it. So it's going to cost a lot to book a stay there, but people could book a stay right now for 25, 50% off, which is incredible. And they get to have inputs, right, et cetera, on the property. So when they go there with their friends, they could be like, oh, I had input on that fireplace or whatever it is, right?
You're absolutely right.
And then
on the dog fence for some of them.
Yeah, dog fence. Yeah, that's right. And then, and a lot of things you don't think about until you talk to your customers. So that's a huge win. And then the third win for sustainability, you're using hemp to do a lot of your builds, right? So talk a little bit more about that and the sustainability portion that, you're integrating into the property.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Well, I'm going to use this as a perfect opportunity because we just posted it on my personal LinkedIn earlier today. And I was talking to Travis Chambers from Outpost X. I think you know him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy. I love Travis, and I launched my own sustainability construction company by doing this. So like I told you, finding these rural places, it's being hard finding reliable GCs. And even then, the GCs that I had to bring in to work in with hemp, which are few, that's their expertise. I was always the one working with the subcontractors, seeing the plans, working with the engineers, going to the county commissioner meetings, getting permits approved. I was a developer myself all the way through, and I used a little bit of help from my family, and experience. But Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely it's been like a journey delving from hospitality into land into now construction.
Yes. Talk about the some of the benefits of using hemp to build versus some of the, typical materials like sheetrock or drywall that other people would use.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So there's a few. And so with my construction company, our vision is affordable, modular, sustainable housing. And that's what we want to showcase via Cosmos. And the way we get to that, first, the affordability. Number one, by doing a hemp wall, you're decreasing, the sheet rug, like all these layers of walls, that you usually need to have, and you got different crews to come in, You're taking all those different layers, even going down to the last layer, which you see here on my wall, wait, And a lot of this paint, it's before, of course, back in the 1940s, we used a lot of worse chemicals, But the chemicals even now, they're not good. I'm telling you, Kevin, they're not. And so what we're doing is by doing this hemp, and it's misleading when you listen to it being called hempcrete, because it's nothing related to concrete. It's lime, hemp, and water. And basically it binds. You have probiotics, a binder, right? And it binds into a wall that's so hard. It provides an insulation value of about R2 per inch, which is really a great. So now you got a wall that in itself is naturally thermally it has thermal insulation. Number two, it provides acoustic insulation. So you could be on the outside, on the inside, and hear nothing going on the outside. And that's what we're calling our bedrooms the sleep capsules at Cosmos, the Stargazing Villas, because they're going to get made out of hemp, and you won't be able to hear anything. Another benefit as well, and there's so many benefits. So like, I'll finish with a couple. One, you can't burn it down, so lower insurance costs as well. And well, we all like lower insurance costs, but what we really enjoy is things not burning down. We love that,
Mhm.
you know. So yeah, I can keep on going into all the benefits into hemp, but we're doing more than that. We want to do Adobe floors so that people are literally stepping and grounding themselves because they're stepping on earth. We want to be doing constructive wetlands for water remediation. And that's when you use plants to like purify the water, or so that you have to rely on the outdated. But these are all also innovative methods that we're bringing out into our subdivision that we're developing 50 minutes away from Cosmos. And that's how it all comes together. We're going to be able to sell these Cosmos Stargazing villas to people that want them. We don't mind sharing, and we don't mind doing that. And we can talk a little bit more about that and the timeline, and tell you more about my aspirations to do more crowdfundings.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's rewind a little bit. You mentioned community of 50,000 people. 50,000. I don't want to glance over that. Everyone's probably listening is like, ask about that, Kevin. So 50,000 emails. Oh my gosh. So talk about that. How did you accumulate that list? Because a lot of people look at a crowdfunding campaign and go, wow, the money is great, etc. But what they don't realize, like you said, is the community that's built. They're super engaged. They're some of the best customers you can ever get. And the people that don't become customers right away on your crowdfunding campaign are like, they signed up. They're likely to become customers later. That 50,000 person email list, only, 1,600 of those people became customers, or 1,700 people became customers. So there's 48,000 plus people that are going to become customers later, right? That are part of your community right now. How did you build that list? And how do you plan on using that?
That's a great, great question, and the way we built the list is by following the steps that Lunchroom told us to follow. So everybody, all right, listen to the Lunchroom videos and eat your broccoli, okay? Please, because they were right, and basically, one of the really great things for us is that our cost of acquisition per customer was negative. So we were able to continue to run ads and ads and ads, and we were getting a $50 payment, and our cost of reservation was as low as $23, things that are unheard of, because when you're trying to gather these VIPs, you're sometimes even going over and spending more so you eventually get, the purchase. We and when we were working with Justin too, the really crazy thing that he was like, I can't believe how consistently you guys had stayed under the mark. Then we went up to like 33, and you guys were right. The margins do get lower towards the end, okay? And you were saying, but that's how we got the 50,000 emails because we're continuing doing the ads. You know what's a cooler number, Kevin?
What's that?
We got 7,000 people to pay the $50. And only about, like you said, like 1,600 or 1,700 actually bought the vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? We got over 5,000 people that paid. They didn't take care and they didn't take advantage of the 50% off, but they didn't ask for a refund either. And I know we had the refund thing, we honestly made so much money that we just extended our refund policy,
Right.
So like if people were asking for $50, I'd rather give them their $50 back than deal with, and but where I'm trying to get to is that now I've been in touch with my director of marketing, and she's listening in right now on the podcast, Jennifer Gerlings. She is the director of marketing for Kosmos Stargazing Resort. I've been talking to her about turning this into a subscription service. Why waste it, right, Kevin? So now I'm thinking, if these guys were willing to give me $50 for a discount, or to be part of the community, and we heard many different things, a lot of them didn't know how crowdfunding worked, so we had to educate them, and we can talk about the timeline as well. We did a couple of webinars before launching, which I think actually helped as well, because we were doing like astrology or, like educational webinars, but at the end putting it about like, all right, guys, this is how you guys are going to book. This is what Indiegogo is. This is how it works, And then some people started backing out, and that's good. Because when I remember talking to you and Justin, if you want people asking for a refund, you want them doing it now. We're not over here to like, everybody is scared about like crowdfunding is being scams or being like put out there, but it's not. It's really what you need to do is make sure that you're betting on the right team and on the right people. And so by becoming ourselves, by putting an image and a face, and I can talk more about the timeline because this is a great segue into the timeline, Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So we started in May of last year, but I honestly didn't have my team, still working full time. I quit my full-time job last July, and then which was crazy because I was leading like a team of 20 people and then working a full-time job selling pharmaceutical software to Fortune 50 companies, literally traveling from Australia to Europe and managing a 20 people team, so that was like, oh yes, I think I can go ahead and handle and go in on my own, it was in July, and I was, and I really did that switch of mind was when you guys explained to me that we can make money off of the reservations that the ads pay for themselves. So I'm like, all right, we can already start creating revenue off of this. Like, let's just start focusing on that. And we did, and it went so well. And I publicly launched on September, and then we started doing the testings, the $1. And those were doing well, and we kept on doing them. We took our time. And then, what was really interesting as well is when we were doing the testing, we were getting a lot of feedback, And also, we were doing sometimes getting even better results with the renderings that were basic than the fully completed ones because people were commenting like, oh, what's that? Oh, that looks like this, or like, which ended up being more engagement, And our success started exploding once after the testing, but I remember talking to you guys, and I think some campaigns are used to doing testing for like maybe 4 weeks, or maybe up to like 8. We did testing all the way from September all the way up to like December, and then even more, I think, and then the big switch was when we switched from getting $1 reservations to $50 reservations.
And what month was that? When did that happen?
And that was in December, I think, at the end of December.
Okay. You tested for 3-4 months at $1,
Yes,
and then you increased it to $50 in December.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And, a- and then, and then we got like 7,000 people at $50 each, which is the crazy part, which then also, I looked at all the data then at the end. I looked at the results because I am an analyzer myself. And I looked and like the Indiegogo campaign is over, but we're still getting people asking to pay. And I'm like, and honestly, we kept the $50 going because we allocated enough capacity to make sure that everybody that paid the $7,000 could book. After enough time passed, the Indiegogo campaign passed, we allowed people to select dates. Everybody got what we promised, and it was all fair and square. We're like, all right, we can keep going with the $50 and providing discounts until we have the website that's ready to have the payments in full. And by the way, we are already, which is the win-win for the crowdfunders. We're already taking payments at full price of $700 or $1,000 per night.
Yeah, and people that backed the crowdfunding campaign, how much did they pay? What type of discount did they get on that 700?
They were paying as low as lower as so $350 per night, and down to
Wow,
like
50% off.
like $300 per night. Or like they did. I think that 3 nights it was a 59% discount. I don't remember what that came down to, but yeah, it was definitely in that range between 300 and 350.
Yeah, so I want to highlight for people. I mean, we always encourage this, but for some reason, no one seems to listen, which is like start the testing sooner rather than later. Like in your case, you tested, September, October, November, December, for basically 3.5, 4 months, right? At $1 reservations. And then the testing, because you spent the sufficient amount of time, went so well that you were then able to take $50 reservations. And you got $50 reservations from 7,000 people. So some quick arithmetic for the listeners, that's $350,000 just from reservations in the pre-launch campaign that Gamal was able to generate before the campaign was even live, before the campaign raised $2 million on its own separately, right? So, the campaign itself is a little bit of a formality because, again, Gamal already had 7,000 people give him his credit card information, telling him that they're going to book a stay at $350, $400, $500 a night. So I just really want to highlight that for people. If you have the luxury of time, do what Gamal did, right? Start the testing sooner rather than later.
And you're 100% right. And honestly, I keep on telling my team, and now we're applying the launching concept to our land business and to our other businesses, and the ads, I want to, now that we're selling land, I realized how Launchman did it. So I'm like, all right, maybe I can launch an ad where people sign up to be part of this Facebook community that gives great deals on land,
Right.
And I pay for the ads itself by making people pay $10 to join these land deals,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been in digital marketing and direct to consumer for, over 10 years at this point. And, we connect with a lot of digital marketers in the space. Everyone's told me this is the only time where they see that's pre-launch, which is what this is, right? Is able to finance all of the company's advertising and marketing costs. Now, I want the listeners to understand that this doesn't happen for every single campaign, right? You have to have product market fits in order for this to happen. But how do you get product market fit? By doing more testing and building alongside your customers, So, just really, really want to highlight that for all the listeners out there.
Absolutely. It was, the process and how long it took, it definitely dove into our success. So like I said, I was analyzing a lot of the numbers and we kept the $50 coming in, and I've seen sometimes, so after the Indiegogo campaign was done, we'd still get like $1,800 directly to our Stripe account. And I would look at who paid for it, thinking there was somebody that paid for the $50 yesterday, or something like that. But it was not. It was something I paid for the $50 back in February, or in March.
Right.
I'm like, and that led us to understand also that, like, you want to make a timeline and a deadline because you can't keep the Indiegogo campaign forever. And if you just make it forever, you have to manage it very well. And that's what Jennifer and myself and the marketing team did very well, is managing communications. I think that's another. So, I know we're going to talk about perhaps also mistakes or improvements. I think like, there could always be improvements in communications, but I think we did that really well as well and was part of our success. And we could even have that improve better, like, you know, but the communication was a big part of our success and showing our names, and like, I remember, like, when we had about 4,000 subscribers in June before launching, and then during a webinar, we let everybody know, like, how it all works, because not everybody knew exactly how it all works, what Launchroom was, the disclaimers at the bottom, we told them, oh, it's crowdfunding, and we wanted to tell them, hey, look, we're telling you 2 months in advance in case you want to get your $50 back, you can do it, And we got a bunch of comments on the stargazing community, people doubting it, people explaining what crowdfunding is, people supporting it, people saying, oh, this makes total sense, and you really are forming a business and getting real feedback, as you're doing your testing with the $1, but as you're forming your community as well. You're literally talking to clients before you're even shipping out your product.
That's honestly the best thing that anyone can do for their business. So we talked a lot about what are the things that worked for your, crowdfunding campaign. What are the things that didn't work? What are your learnings?
All right. Hi, guys. I'm marketing director with Cosmos. One of the things I would say we were not prepared for is the amount of customer service we had to do. As soon as we launched, we had an extremely high volume of emails. We had an extremely high volume of phone calls, and we did not have the sufficient amount of team members for that. So we were all hands on deck, handling that, and we could have for sure been more prepared in that area. So if you're launching, I would recommend maybe having a customer service support team ready to go, or at least a couple people.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you guys are ramping up from, a couple dollar deposits here and there in the testing phase to 50,000 people on your email list. That's makes a lot of sense. Thanks for chiming in there, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
And Jennifer is totally right as well when we actually finished the campaign, because for us, we were in a situation where we told them, hey, you pay first, then you select your dates. So it really matters towards the logistics of your specific product,
Mm-hmm.
For us, it was hard to explain to a whole audience and market that, hey, you pay first, then you select your date. When the biggest part of our audience was like 30 to 60-year-olds, and they're like, all their lives they paid for hotels once they get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a really great point.
Yeah. I bet it brings up a lot of questions for sure. What advice would you give people who are thinking about launching their own products?
Like you said, the market testing, the market fit. We can talk and I can give myself credit or Jennifer credit or I think credit all I want, but market testing. My product didn't have word, like don't be discouraged, just keep on looking for the angle or the product that works, and also never underestimate the power of starting to act now. I honestly delayed, like starting the testing until September, when I first engaged you guys, I wanted to have a 4-month campaign. I wanted to be done in 4 months. I remember, I delayed the testing. Why did I delay it? And also, why did I? Well, I know I stopped it because we went to $50. But I feel like you should always be testing, and just don't be complacent. So that's what I would say is we got to a point where we had to like focus so much on the actual business, that like, the crowdfunding takes your full attention and it's like a make or break point. So you need to, like Jennifer said, you need to go in and be able to provide customer service like an established company, even though you're just establishing yourself.
So talk about the vision that you have, Gamal. So you mentioned at the top of the podcast, this is the beginning. You're leading the way in astrotourism. What is next? So you talked a little bit about the construction company that you're starting, helping other people implement sustainable, building with hempcretes, et cetera. You talked about land consulting. You're talking about helping other people build other similar structures to Kosmos resorts. Like, what is your vision? Where do you see yourself in this business? I mean, I feel like Kosmos is just one, in your mind, just one small step along the way, right? And the crowdfunding is, one small step there too. And even before the recording, you talked about how do we do a, partnership with LaunchBoom to do launch booms for all of these different projects. So talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I see so we got ourselves into a position where we're leading ecotourism. So astrotourism is inherently intertwined with astrotourism because it all connects with nature, right? Ecotourism is also inherently intertwined with sustainable construction because you're doing ecotourism. I don't know if I need to explain that into much more detail, but you're going to, you're being a tourist of the ecosystem. So I think that's a perfect way to put it. And so, and you know what? The best analogy is to give you is when I went on one of my drives from the site where Kosmos is being built back to Denver. I travel a lot and I have a lot of hospitality experience. And so I like to stay, when I exploit myself, I like to stay at the Westin in Avon. And that place is known to have the best hotel gym in the world. And so it's really funny because there's actually two buildings that look just the same. And when you go check in to the Westin in Avon, you have a check-in like a Marriott, because it's part of the Marriott brand, just if nobody knows. But literally to the right, you see a real estate company right there on the check-in lobby. And what are they selling you? They're selling you the exact same apartment that you're staying in right now, but in the building next to it, And so I'm like, what a concept, And then I looked into it. And of course, if you get into the hospitality aspect, you start seeing how and so we want to lead the way in ecotourism, eco construction, and crowdfunding of of these ideas. So not just crowdfunding, but there we go. That's the best way to put it. Community building. We want to build companies around communities, exactly, and we want to take equitable principles into companies and into the clientele. A lot of people are angry towards capitalism because, they said, oh, well, all these capitalists, look how much they charge and this costs this, and like, all right, why don't we make it all equitable, right? Let's let the client be part of the equitable transaction, right? Just like we did over here. And so we're now thinking of doing crowdfunding for different properties. So that's how we can get people to that's how we can do different Cosmos resorts in different dark skies. Now, how do we build in these remote places? We already found that it was super hard to build one Cosmos resort, in a remote area. Well, that's why we're developing our own sustainable construction company. We already have, and the idea is to not just try and take it all over. No, we're working with a lot of different builders that are innovators in sustainable construction. We're getting them all together, and so that we can all work together and really deliver the best product to the world. That's a problem that happens a lot in the construction company or the sustainable company or in the we want to save the world energy, is everybody has their own idea on how to save the world. Nobody wants to see it. So my perception is that I don't have the best idea, but I do have really good people skills, and I can talk to people who have the best ideas and then have us all come to a decision on what the best idea is, right? And so we're also about, going back to the Wasim and the Avon, where I saw this like real estate office right next to the check-in. We bought 900 acres, 10 minutes away from Kosmos. We're looking, and we have proposed to the county already the most sustainable subdivision on earth, right? We're going to be looking to make that public soon. So I guess now it's public.
I'm in. How do I buy one, Gamal?
And that's exactly what I'm thinking, because I got 900 acres. I divided it into 35-acre ranches because I needed to get some cash flow and sold that right away. The smaller lots are going to take a little bit longer. I'm going to be doing 5-acre lots. So now I'm thinking, let's see, I have 105-acre lots. The county already told me that I'm going to get the permits approved verbally. That's verbally, so of course I have to do a little bit more work there. But essentially, I am very certain that that's going to be able to be divided into smaller lots, whether it's 5 acres or 1 acre, that's yet to be determined, But I know that it can be turned into a PUD. And so now I'm thinking, why not I pre-sell 5-acre lots?
Yeah.
And so that's something that I want to reach out to you guys about, Another of the crowdfunding steps that I'm going to do is we're separating Kosmos from just being a resort company to also being an experience company. And that's where $50,000 emails turn into more value. Those 7,000 subscribers that pay the $50, we're going to try to turn them into a subscription service where they get access to different planetariums wherever they're from. So now those $50 that they paid for it, they don't feel like, oh, I wasted $50 on Cosmos, I got nothing out of it. No, now you get an annual subscription and you can visit your local planetarium. We're working on that, but we're exactly figuring out how to make ways to bring value to the consumer back at every corner.
That's incredible. Yeah. And if you could, have a deal where you could bring enough value for them that exceeds whatever they paid you, then you have a very successful business, right? You just keep doing that. And then, this is incredible, right? Because people will experience Cosmos, they go, oh my gosh, especially if people are paying $700 per night, it's like I could own one of these for how much is it going to cost? Like $200,000 or how much?
Yep.
Okay. So
I'm selling 35 acres with a well for $58,000.
$58,000. My gosh. My gosh. Go to own your piece of Colorado. Oh, what's the domain?
Yeah. Ownapieceofcolorado.com.
Yeah. Ownapieceofcolorado.com and go pre-order one now for $58,000.
And with the 5-acre lot, I could even do pre-orders for $2,000. So we were thinking about doing that with crowdfunding. That was one of the ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can own a lot right next to Cosmos hotels, and then Gamal will do all the R&D for you, how to use hempcrete to build your hotel or your own. It won't be your hotel. It'll be your residential resorts basically that you own. Yeah. And then he'll go out and build it for you. So that is, and think about, guys, everyone that's listening, think about the value that's stored in that community, the 5,400 people that saw the price per night stay and paid $50 that didn't book a full night stay. Like the value that could be unleashed there, that could be delivered to those people that Gamal was talking about, and the interest in the purchase of the land, in addition to the 40,000 people that are left on the email list that haven't transacted with Cosmos yet. So I think a lot of people, again, focus on just the crowdfunding campaign and revenue generated there, use that to do the build or raise money from investors. That's all great. But everything else after is what you're going to use to build a real business. So I think this is a perfect place to wrap up, Gamal. So own a piece of Colorado.com.
build with Naturalia, which is naturalia.com.
Okay. Naturalia with an
There
English
you go.
accent. .com. So we'll link it in the show notes as well. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to the end if you're still here. And where can people find you on the internet, Gamal?
The best place is on Instagram, Gamal JZ, or send me an email at gamal@kosmosresort.com, and send my team. I'm definitely getting a lot of calls, but I'm always on LinkedIn is the best as well. I'm looking to collaborate and help people be successful with their lunch booms, with their lunches, and especially when it comes to hospitality or real estate.
All right. Amazing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your time, and your insights, Gamal. And Jennifer, really appreciate you both being on. And yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Kevin.